You're listening to the Who is Christine Anyway podcast season 2. Today's guest is musician, author, and actor Justin Pearson. Enjoy. But at the same time, like when we have like the neo-Nazis and we have all these other what we call it, subgenres of like people into the major genres, it can sometimes seem cool. And it really does create such a negative thing. It was, I don't think people understand that people that listen to, I keep saying people, but you get the point. Listeners who enjoy harder music, heavier music, faster music. I know a lot of bands now who they're like, it's got to be under 30 seconds. The song has to be under 30 seconds. One of my favorite bands, downstate from me, they're like that, 30 seconds, really hard, really fast, kind of like you were. And I asked them, I'm like, do me a favor, send me your stage plot. Because I was curious, because like you said, you have to know your pedal board, you have to know your hands. And he sent me back a fucking drawing on the backside of like a Denny's menu or something that he'd done with a pen. He's like, this is me. And then down here is like, proud, your job. I'm like, this is the best. And I keep that. I'm like, this is exactly what I need, not this fucking like 600-page writer.
Oh, yeah.
Like lovely. But it just kind of, those crowds, even the crowds, like, I feel like the Locust crowd and all those other crowds, yes, there's violence in that kind of quote, but there's like a controlled type of violence. And outside of those shows, statistically shown in psychology, those are the least violent, offensive criminals in finger. I hate to use the word criminal. Offenders, maybe, in society. Mm-hmm. Like, which I found was really interesting. People who attended metal shows, punk rock shows, heavier music, speed metal, all those really hard genres, or you know, the mixed genres where there's mosh pits, anything of that sort, were less likely to commit crimes than people that went to a country show.
There's an outlet for you. Or maybe statistically a band is kind of left-leaning, and so they're getting, I don't know, yeah. Because I always think about like, I always think like, what's the most sketchiest type of musical genre? And I'd be like, oh, it's electronic dance music. Like, that's hands down just like everyone gets roofied and like date raped and shit like that, you know what I mean? Anyhow, that's, I mean, whatever. More than
that culture. But the thing is too, is that, you know, I'm 37. I've gone through my 20s. I had friends growing up through my 20s. So I'm really hyper-focused on my job. And they were, you know, they would go out and they would intentionally go to the rave community. I don't want to just say rave, but like that type of, you know, EDM, electronic type. And they would go with the intention of, like, man, I hope I get roofied tonight. And I'm like, if the only way you get laid is roofied, maybe re-examine what the entire situation is here, for one. And for two, like, that may not be a roofie. You could just die. Like, you realize that, like, this isn't fucking Mario Brothers.
Yeah. Especially now with, like, fentanyl and stuff. But I've been roofied, and it is jarring and terrible. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why? Like, why? You know, I didn't sign up for this. So it's pretty insane. And it happens a lot. And I've seen that a lot, especially like, so that my last book is like based in this at this job I had, this gay club. And people would get roofied all the time. And, you know, you have one dude carrying out another dude that's roofied. No one thinks it's like a guy carrying this woman out. Oh, he's going to go rape her. They think like, he's like, oh, this is my boyfriend. He's just wasted it. And like, they leave. And no one ever questioned it like it was going to be, you know, like a sex crime. You know, they thought it was just like, oh, these two drunk dudes or whatever. And one of them couldn't handle his shit, you know, and like, it was pretty crazy to see that. And then also like, yeah, people would go and try to get roofied, which is just bizarre as well. But
can you just imagine dancing holding your cup like this, just kind of like, hey man, I just it makes me sad to think that that's kind of where music leans sometimes, you know.
That's not only music, that's more just like
it's like a culture. It's like a culture.
They're like there to see a DJ, like, you know, the guy's like using Serato.
Like you said, somebody carrying somebody out and nobody's questioning that happens at like, well, we know this from like a few years back. Like that was happening at Warped Tour. Bands were, you know, carrying those. It's just this and carrying. Like that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody asking questions?
Well, maybe now it's changed. I haven't worked in the bar industry.
Oh, yeah, I got you. It probably has changed. I imagine, especially like the Me Too movement and all these other like really strong like social movements, which and especially now that they're like pursuing convictions, and now these states are really pursuing these people, and cancel culture taking, and like it just takes one person and defeats something, and it's just it's such a gray area. It's wonderful. I think that some of these victims are getting their voices. All the victims, anybody who's been done wrong, I think it's important that they actually get heard. And I think it's kind of crazy to think that we actually lived in an era where, like, a gay bar, you could like throw a dude over your shoulder and be like, and just walk out.
Yeah.
Well, and then
the social pendulum swings, and I think, unfortunately, it's swinging back to like the Wild West with the current administration. Like, I think things are going to get fucked again, or fucked in a different way. I think humans are just so arrogant and naive, and we can't get our shit together. We're bound to just fuck each other over one way or the other, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I'm just sitting over here nodding, and I know that like doesn't translate to like verbally over on a podcast. I'm like nodding like ferociously, like, yeah. And it's kind of crazy because when we start hearing about European countries and their cultures and their healthcare, and then we see the news and we're all just kind of like sitting there with our head down. And I'm like, I'm a Handmaid's Tale fan. Like, I love the show. Do not love the concept. Do not love the realism of how the concept is coming to fruition.
Yeah.
But I am like looking across the St. Lawrence River on a daily basis going like, I could swim it. So I could run it. I could swim it. I think I could be okay. And I've got 4 daughters. So I worry for them. Like, yeah, like, my youngest is 6. Of course, she's still kind of aloof. But my oldest is, she turns 18 in like a month. And I'm like, I'm terrified for what your 4 years of college are going to look like. Because college is not tucked at home safely with mom.
Yeah.
With my little electric car.
Yeah.
And my quiet, beagles. That kind of thing. So
yeah.
It's crazy. But I think the work that you've done in the music, whether you see it or not, like, especially I'm finding when I dig in with these people and I go into the back, like, the inspiration that you have for so many people that I don't even think you realize it. Like, obviously, yes, you're like, I know, I've done this, that, and the other thing. But the product of the book and the intelligence that you're giving, I always tell people intelligence is free. It's what you do with it that's going to, determine what the actual worth of it is. And I think the fact that your books are so renowned and available, I really, have any of them hit the New York Times seller list? I didn't check that.
Oh, no. I don't think so.
I think, do you get a plaque for that? It's not like Billboard.
I don't know. I don't think anything like...
I myself.
Nothing of mine ever gets like really recognized on a level like that. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but yeah, but it is what it is.
I think it should. I think it's, a lot of people go, like you said, you're like, you should write that down. And that should be, story, how you got told this. It's like, that is like a this fraction to a this detail story. And the way that you illuminate so many things that aren't talked about or are talked about is fantastic. It would almost be something that if I was a high school English teacher, I would almost trounce in. I had one teacher who would have done that. I actually have an interview with him this week. He'll be fun. Like, bringing up my old high school teacher.
Oddly enough, for me, there was 2 instructors in college. One was, I don't know where the U.S. one was, and one was also in Canada, and they used my book on their syllabus. So, like, and I noticed it because my statements from the publisher was like big. I was like, why is there so many why is there like X amount of more sales this quarter? And then eventually I met both of the instructors and like, we had your book on the syllabus, and all the students had to buy it, which was good for me. But yeah, so I mean, that's like very flattering. That's almost like winning a reward, like
I would throw it to Berkeley, like the college over in Boston that I went to. And it would be an amazing asset to people to learn and understand the, especially your musical journey too, on top of your intellectual journey, on top of your experience journey. It's like you're like a sandwich with like multiple layers. You're not just peanut butter and jelly. You're like a ham sandwich with lettuce.
Club sandwich, right? Those have like all stuff.
Club sandwiches are good, I guess. Yeah, we can go with club. There's a lot of layers to those where it's like bread, blah, 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 bread, blah, blah, blah. Sounds like a Christmas carol. But in all the instruments you have, and all your gear, and everything you've ever played that makes noise, what is the most unique one? that you've really loved that you're like, wow, I just love that sound?
I mean, obviously, like something. That's a question I'm not sure I fully understand. Like, I love my bass guitar. I have two, but I love one specifically, obviously. But I have this pedal that's called a Schumann PLL, and there's clones of them now. But like, it was this like sort of like holy grail of effects pedals that was sought after, and I bought it from Schumann before the internet and before like you could really research the guy. I think he only made a handful of them and then he disappeared. And so it became this like really weird, like obscure piece of gear.
Yeah.
But it did have this sound and it created these sounds. It was very limited in what I could do because like in the Locust, the music is very dense and fast. And so this needed like space to kind of let the texture grow and stuff, resonate, the timbre of the sounds and stuff. So like, yeah, the Schumann PLL was like this crazy thing. And it just looked like this piece from like some spaceship that you would see like in like maybe from like Star Trek, the original TV show or something. It just looked so weird. This big black strange box. But it's a phase lock loop pedal. And that was kind of like the jam. And it just seemed like very special. You can get them now. Clones of them and they're great. It's a really awesome pedal and it's a very defining sound. Like if you play through it, you're like, oh, the Locust, Safety Second Body Last, 40 seconds into the song, that's it or whatever. You would know like what it is. So it's just kind of like, that's a cool, unique piece. But my bass is like my jam.
Right.
Yeah.
But the pedals though are often kind of cool. And it's kind of one of those things like when I go down that road, you'd be surprised. Some people say that they use really odd things onto their instruments, like their guitars, their basses. So it's always interesting too when somebody refers to back down to their pedal board and you still have the original one that you had, or did you end up, okay, good. Keep that forever. Don't ever.
Yeah, like I have two clones of it and one of them Earthquaker Devices made and it's like so close, but it's not there, and then there's another one that I have that's like pretty good too, but yeah, the original one's the original one. It's pretty unique, I guess. I would say though that like there's things that I really kind of obsessed over musically that aren't necessarily like special gear. It's more just like technique. There's like this Line 6 FM4 pedal that normal people will use, and I use two of them. So I run into one and then into the next, and that makes the sound just super jacked up and like pretty stupid. And I think most people would be like, I'm going to use two and make it totally fucked sounding, and that, so like those are the kind of things that I gravitate towards. Cause I like seeing an artist perform and I like seeing their gear, like John Reese from Drive by Jehu and Hot Snakes and every other band. If you see his Marshall JCM 800 head, it just looks fucked. Like it looks so crazy. It should be in a museum. Like it looks so wild and you're just like, that's the one that does all this stuff. And it is probably just a basic JCM 800 and I'm sure it's modded or been replaced or fixed over and over and over, but it has become this like tool. And I like the fact that like, because when you see someone that's like, I'm wealthy and I have all the new gear, like that's great, but can you make it special? And I think you can it goes back to like DIY, it's like, can you make something out of nothing? Can you make something from junk and be creative?
I've seen people get like the Walmart guitars, like those listen, my first guitar was like an Ames brand one, like that, like Hills department store thing. But I've seen people take the Ames brand guitars and actually produce something. And then if you go listen to something that perhaps, like say you just were instrument blind, like you just didn't know, you're like, well, I prefer that sound. They go, the gear was substantially cheaper. And I'm like, yeah. It's just further proof, it's not this, it's that. It's the quality of the musician and the artistry and the musicianship.
Keep listening for more of my conversation with Justin. Visit www.whoischristineanyway.com for access to all the social media links and additional podcast episodes.